What's up? How you guys doing today? I'm here to talk about some UFC fighters that are probably retiring next year, and we're gonna have 5 of them. So, hope you enjoy the video. First up, we have Wonderboy Thompson, and I'm 100% sure that this man is gonna retire next year. Why? Because he keeps getting like the worst stylistic matchups. Buckley, Shafkat. I know he won against Kevin Holland, but his fights before that, I mean, he lost against Burns, lost against Bilal Muhammad. I mean, he just keeps getting wrestlers, and every time, and even Tyron Woodley, you can consider Woodley as a wrestler. He lost to him, and he's 41 at welterweight. I know he has a good longevity, but guy has like no power, and that's one of the biggest problems, right? Why he cannot win fights, because at this point I don't think he's gonna win a lot. Like, maybe if it's, I think Michael Venom Page can be a winnable matchup, right? But maybe that's like two of the best strikers at welterweight. Let's see. I'm not saying that Wonderboy is like somehow trash on the feet. He's amazing, right? I'm talking about his power, because at this point, I think most of the welterweights know that if they fight Wonderboy, they don't have to worry about the power. So they just have to fucking run at him and throw big hooks, and big overhands like Buckley did, and just knock him out. Do the same thing as Buckley, because Buckley showed how to do that, and so people just gonna fucking do the same thing over and over again, because Wonderboy is not finishing anyone, right? Even if he hits you with like his best spinning wheel kick, you're gonna get rocked, right, or wobbled. You're not getting KO'd, and that's the thing. If people start to understand that, then that's over for Wonderboy. And we have guys like Carlos Prates and Michael Morales, and I don't know if the UFC will try to make one of the matchups. I don't think so. For Carlos Prates, I mean, he will probably get a bigger jump up, because he has so much hype that the UFC knows that they have to put this guy in a big fight. Maybe JDM, or I don't know, some top 6-7 guy maybe, and then Michael Morales fight maybe. But I don't want the fight. I want Steven Thompson versus MVP, and after MVP is done with Shara, I mean, he's gonna beat the shit out of Shara Bullet. Shara Bullet's overrated as fuck, and MVP is gonna expose him, and then he will have the chance to fight Wonderboy, who's like 4 levels above in the rankings. Wonderboy is number 11, MVP is number 15. So MVP, he can have a jump up, but at this point, like it doesn't really matter, right? MVP's, I don't think he really wants to be a champion in the UFC. I don't think that's his goal. Like, he understands that he's already like 37. He's not in his prime. He can win some fights, but then, listen, first of all, he has to go through Shara Bullet. I'm not saying that's an easy fight, because Shara can grapple, but listen, if Shara finishes him, that will be on the ground, right? Ian Gary was very close to submitting MVP. Kevin Holland didn't even come close. But then Shara Bullet is more like a striker, and MVP is maybe the best striker at welterweight. That's why I wanna see MVP versus Steven Thompson. Like, let's see 2 of the best strikers at welterweight. Let's decide who's the best. And then Wonderboy retires and Had a great fight with MVP, no wrestling involved. His training camp won't be as, exhausting, and he won't have to do the hard, wrestling rounds when he prepares for Buckley and, Shafkat. I mean, he just fought two of the best contenders in the whole division, and I know he lost to both of them, but listen, he was piecing up Shafkat and he was winning the fight against Buckley. So even though he's 41, he's still very, very good. He's still elite. The problem is that he has no power and he's one-dimensional. But that's it for Wonderboy. The next one, we got Jan Blachowicz, the Polish power, and he's back against Carlos Ulberg in February. But the problem is that he's gonna lose the fight, and that's why he's gonna retire, I think. Maybe if the fight is like close and it's very competitive, I can see Jan, staying here for another fight. But again, 41 years old, and I'm not saying that's, like way too much, but he's not 50, but 41 is like, I don't care, which division you're in, 41 is old for any division. I don't care if Glover was a champion at 41 or 2. Glover was the only one, and fucking Randy Couture. But usually that's not the case. And Jan Blachowicz is out of his prime. His physique is declining, and he's coming off a shoulder injury, and that just makes it even worse. And Ulberg is gonna box him up, right? Ulberg on the feet, I think he's gonna, when it comes to the hands, I think he's gonna outbox Jan, outstrike him. But Jan has the legendary, Polish shin-to-shin leg kicks. But then that's it. Maybe he can grapple with Ulberg, but Ulberg has some good takedown defense, and I don't think Jan is submitting him. Right? I know he was close to subbing Alex Pereira, but Alex Pereira is training with Glover, right? I'm not saying that Alex is like a fucking defensive animal on the ground, but like, he's training with Glover, right? I would pick Jan Blachowicz any day of the week if this was like 2 years ago, even like 1.5 years ago. If this was at the time when Jan fought Alex, I would pick him. But this is gonna be in 2025, bro. And I don't know how Jan's gonna look. So the more safe, the safer pick is Ulberg. And Ulberg's looking pretty good. I know he had a competitive fight with Volkan Oezdemir, but Volkan Oezdemir is pretty good. I'm interested to see how he's gonna deal, or how Ulberg is gonna deal with the leg kicks of Jan, and how Jan's gonna use them. Because, listen, I'm a fan of Jan, Polish guy, and I'm Hungarian, so we are brothers. But Ulberg is like he's like 7 years younger. He's in his prime, and he's way more hungry, bro. He's way more hungrier than fucking Blachowicz, who's been at the top, and he's 40 years old. And even if he like decides to stay here, maybe he will take a fight in fucking fall or December, and he will lose again and retire. I don't think he's staying here for 2026. Like, there's no way. There's no way that this man is gonna stay around when he's 43. That will be fucking insane. Maybe if he's like broke, but I don't think Jan is like a type of the guy to like fight until he's a can and fight until his 50s, right? But he's had a great career. I hope he wins against Holbrook, but that's not the case. And after he loses, I think he will hang it up. Now this is a special one. We got Triple C, and listen, I love the guy. I'm a big fan, but what the fuck is he doing? He's on his podcast with Kamaru Usman, and you know, he's like no fight news, like nothing. I haven't heard anything from Henry Cejudo when it comes to who he's fighting. Henry Cejudo, listen, at this point, it's very obvious that he doesn't want to fight the up and coming 10 years younger guys, but it's understandable. He's like 38 and almost 38, and he's at bantamweight, right? And what if he doesn't get the O'Malley fight? What if he doesn't get the Sandhagen fight? Then he will have to fight, Song Yadong or fucking Marcus McGee. Like, he will have to fight the young contenders, and I mean, he doesn't want to do that, but of course, he will say the same thing everyone does, like, what have you done, to deserve this fight? And he will decline all of those. He wants to fight O'Malley, right? And maybe I was thinking about a Sandhagen fight. Can be something that I would be interested in. Will the UFC give him those fights? That's the question, because he just lost to Merab and he just lost to Aljo. I mean, he had the chance to win against somebody who's got a big name. He couldn't, so now maybe the UFC is gonna fuck him over and give him a Song Yadong, and that would be such a dirty move, bro, from the UFC, in my opinion. Henry Cejudo, who's like, former double champ, and I know he lost to Aljo and Merab, but listen, Aljo fight was a split decision, and in the Merab fight, he won the first round. So it's like, and he was like 37 in the Merab fight, and these guys were all champions. Aljo was the champ when he lost to him, and Merab's the champ now. And it's like everyone loses to Merab. It's not like he lost to, Corey Sandhagen. We haven't seen that. Let's see. Sandhagen is like not the top 2 guy. He's like ranked number 4. Or even there's a fucking Davison Figueiredo matchup. Both guys are like the same age. Figueiredo is younger a bit. And then former flyweight champions, what the fuck? Can't talk. Former flyweight champions, both. But then, why is like, bro never talks about his fighting career. It's like I've seen him smoking weed with Mike Tyson and like questioning his career. Like, why is this guy not fighting? I don't think he's injured. And he just skipped another year. I know he fought that in February. He had 10 months. 10 months to fight anyone. And he didn't. Triple C is not becoming, a champ again. And I don't know what the fuck he's doing with his career. And why is he not fighting? That's a question mark. But he's definitely hanging it up in 2025. Like, do you really think that he will be around like at 40 years old? Because he's very close to being 40. And maybe if he wins like a big fight and the UFC gives him a title shot, but will they? First of all, he needs to get a big fight. He needs to get an O'Malley fight, and maybe we can talk about a title shot. If he beats Sandhagen, that's he doesn't have the Dagestani privilege, so he's in this case he's not getting the title shot. But if it's Umar, then he's getting it because he's Dagestani. I don't agree with this Dagestani privilege, but it is what it is. I mean, I really want Marab to beat Umar, but Umar's probably winning. But that's it for Triple C. Now we have his boy, Marty Fake Newsman, and this is a bit. I mean, it's kind of the same, but it's more interesting, right? Because Usman, he's been out for even more than Cejudo. I mean, he just skipped the whole year. He didn't even fight. And why? Like you had one of your most impressive performances, like in my opinion, like on 11 days notice, went out and had a draw with Khamzat Chimaev. He beat him, like he won the second round, won the third round, and that's Khamzat, who had the whole year to go up to middleweight, and what do you know? Usman is beating him up in the second round and third round, and Khamzat wasn't able to submit him. It was an impressive first round for Khamzat, but then he gassed out and Usman exposed him. Usman was the first one to like really expose Khamzat, right? Because now you couldn't say like, oh, but the weight cut was like really bad for Khamzat because this was at 185. And I predicted it when Khamzat fought Whitaker a few months ago. I said it like Khamzat, like when he fought Usman, it was very hard because Usman is a welterweight and there's a big skill gap between welterweight and middleweight. But against Whitaker, who's like a real middleweight, you're gonna see that big skill gap difference when Khamzat submits or knocks out Whitaker in a round, and that's what happened. But Usman, he just gone out and said that he will go for a last title run once he's healthy. I don't know what that means. Once I'm healthy, because I didn't know like he was injured. I don't know how can you be injured for 1.5 years, honestly. One of the most interesting parts in this whole Usman talk is that he doesn't want to move up to middleweight when that's his best option, right? Listen, this is for Usman. Like the A option is that move up to middleweight and in next year fight Vittori, Brendan Allen, and Roman Dolidze and Jack Hermansson. The problem is that with Usman and like guys like Volkanovski and all of these like former huge champions that like GOAT of their weight classes, Usman is not the GOAT of his weight class. I'm just saying like he's the second best. Volk is the best at featherweight, and these guys have such big egos. And I mean, I know like it's part of the fight game. You have to have a big ego and you have to have big confidence. It's not the problem. Only you want to fight the top two, And I don't understand because at 38 and 37, what I would do is I would go up to middleweight. If I was Usman, I would go up to middleweight, fight Marvin Vittori, Brandon Allen, and Roman Dolidze and Jack Hermansson in the same year. You don't need Jack Hermansson, that's an extra one, but listen, if you can fit it in, then that's just an extra win. And these wins, bro, Usman doesn't need, a fucking 2-month training camp. I mean, for fuck's sake, this guy beat Khamzat Chimaev in 2 rounds on 11 days notice. I know he was training in and out, but like he didn't have a 2-month training camp knowing that he's gonna fight Khamzat. and look at what he did to Khamzat. It's amazing, honestly. Like, Usman, with that performance, proved that he still got it. And I know that he would be worse now, because, I mean, that was a year ago, and he still has some absolutely fucking horrible knees, the cobblestone knees, and the guy has to like walk backwards whenever he's walking on stairs, but he could still beat Marvin Vettori and all of these guys that I just named, or fight Robert Whittaker. That's what I should do. If you don't want to fight Marvin Vettori because you have such a big ego and you don't want to fight Roman Dolidze, then you can fight Whittaker, who's like a former champ again, who's like respected by everyone, who's like one of the best middleweights of all time. That's a legacy fight, But then, again, I still think the best option would be those 3 or 4 fights against Vettori and Allen and Dolidze and Hermanson. Michel Pereira. Fight Michel Pereira, bro. Because you gotta think about it, like, what looks better on Usman's resume, right? Having 4 losses in a row and not having a single win in more than 3 years, because his last win was over Colby Covington the second time. That's his last win. UFC 268. And that's what I'm saying. He needs a win. Or he can move up to middleweight and get 3 wins, right? So he can end on top and he can end his career on a 3-fight winning streak. But now, if he retires now, then, or if he retires after getting KO'd by JDM, it's obvious, that the middleweight is the move. So, Usman, go up to middleweight, bro, because that's your only chance to kind of saving your career right now. I'm not saying that it's in the trash can, but you're on a losing streak right now, and if you want to stay in the top 10 GOATs, then go up to middleweight and get some wins, bro. Last but not least, we got the on paper GOAT, right? Because on paper, Anthony Smith is probably the greatest light heavyweight of all time, and on paper, he beats John Jones and Alex Pereira both at the same time. Anthony Smith, and listen, I see a lot of people talking about that his age is like somehow, bro, Anthony Smith is so old, man. But 36. Alex Pereira is out there knocking people out at 37, knocking out like Jamal Hirayiri, Prohaska, and Clear Roundtree, and he's 37. Anthony Smith is younger than Alex Pereira, and Jan Blachowicz was a champion at 38 or 7 or 9, right? So it's not about his age, it's just that he's getting slower and slower, and he's one of the biggest journeymans, bro. Because nowadays, his last 7 fights, he probably lost like 5 out of them, right? Because he beat Vito Petrino, he beat Ryan Spann last year, but then his record is like 2-4 in the last 2 years. So and against Roman Dolidze, oh my god, against Roman Dolidze, he looked so bad, bro. He literally just gave up. Roman took him down, and the Lionheart that fucking never gives up gave up. Like he just fucking stayed on the ground, didn't want to stand up, and that was one of his most embarrassing performances of all time. and he got, outstruck by Johnny Walker and shut down. And fucking against Dominic Reyes, he looked alright in the first round, but the problem is that one of the main reasons why I think he's retiring next year is that his coach / his best friend recently died. So Anthony Smith is at a very dark place right now, but he's gonna come back for 2025 because he will be motivated by the death of this guy, and he will try to dedicate the fight to his coach. And will he win? I don't think so. I'm probably gonna pick against him almost every time because he's getting slower and slower. Listen, the only case if I could pick against him is if he fighting like the worst guy in the whole division. If he's fighting Tony Ferguson on one day's notice, I'm probably picking against Tony. That's the only fight Anthony could win. Maybe I'm a bit too harsh on Anthony, but because listen, I don't want this guy to retire. I love to clown and laugh at Anthony Smith, because every time he wins, it's like he will talk himself into a fucking Jan Blachowicz matchup. Like this man was saying at the beginning of the year that he would submit Alex Pereira with ease, and he knows that. He literally said that all of the guys in the light heavyweight division know that Anthony beats them all. That's what he said. And he was like seriously talking about this. So Anthony Smith, it's funny to basically watch his podcast and his interviews. So I want to keep this guy around, but it's unfortunate that his coach just died. But I don't think he retires now. I think he will have one more fight. He's ranked number 14, and he's gonna fight some unranked guy. I don't know who, some young gun probably. And then that will be the career of Anthony Smith, and he will hang it up in 2025. I will be really, really surprised if he actually retired, at the UFC 310, because we haven't seen, like, anytime a fighter says that, this was probably the last one, but we'll figure it out. For example, Dustin Poirier, he comes back, right? Because we know that he's gonna have a fight at the early part of the year. This happens every time. I don't know if I'm retired yet. Maybe this was the last time. Maybe not. Maybe I'll come back. Anthony Smith was saying like the same thing, like, because he was saying that without his coach, he doesn't know if he can do this anymore without him. And that's why I'm saying he will have one more fight dedicated to this man, and that will be it for Anthony Smith. But guys, I'm gonna finish this right here, and thank you for watching the video, and like the video also, and subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot to help me achieve my dreams. And drop a comment if you have any thoughts, and I see you guys in the next video. So goodbye.